Yo, my people, back with another video. Some of you lot been asking me, exactly still doing dropshipping? Yeah, I guess you could say that. I still plan to use the dropshipping model, I guess, in the sense of fulfillment. However, like, I've just been thinking recently of the actions I've been taking, and I'm just kind of like thinking on what's my best action, what's the best next step here, like next action to take. Because as you know, well, if you don't know, obviously I was testing three products last time and ended up losing £1,000, right? So that wasn't the best action, and yeah, made me think and obviously reflect, because you know how it goes every time you not make a mistake, but you take action and you don't exactly get the result you want. You kind of got to reflect on it and be like, okay, what could I have done different? And yeah, obviously no one likes losing £1,000, and it's not something you want to continuously do. However, of course, with anything you've got to take risk, and with any action, especially when you're trying to invest in yourself, I guess you got to back it up with money. So you know nothing's wrong in that sense. However, it's just about just making it make sense, and yeah, like looking back and just kind of like reflecting. Obviously, that losing that £1,000 kind of set me back, and you know, I think you know, sometimes you create this kind of roadmap, or you in your head you're like, okay, if I do this plus this, I'll get this result, right? And sometimes you plan for that result. However, we all know that's not how life goes. It's not always 1 + 1 = 2, right? Like you're not always gonna get that exact same result. However, if you plan everything for that particular result and you don't get it, you might be at the end thinking, right, well, that wasn't the plan. What's next, kind of thing. However, yeah, don't want to keep losing money. And I don't think I need to at that extent. I'm more than happy to take the risk, and I will keep backing it up with money. If it's 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, no problem. However, it needs to make sense. And I think I looking back and I'm thinking, like, you know what, Zach, could you have done things differently, or could you have, you know, utilized your time or the money, better? And I think I could have. However, we gotta take those L's, man. And I think now, like, looking back, I feel like, we talk about the dropshipping model, and, most the old people that talk about dropshipping will just talk about testing 4 or 5 products a week, or just spam test products, copy and paste people's store, rip people's ads just to run up their stores. However, like, that's not the reality. But however, people are still doing that, and then they're wondering why they're not making any money, is because everyone's doing the exact same thing. And of course, the people that have more success are the ones that are planning on branding, right? And turning those drop shipping stores into like branded long-term stores, right? And that's what I spoke about on my shop, on my channel. And that's the plan, that's the mission, to have something, to build something that I can have long term. So I've always known that. However, yeah, like I said, looking back, I feel like I'm slightly still moving like a drop shipper. And I feel like I need to stop doing that. Because this is what's happening now. But if I've told myself, Zach, I want to run an e-commerce business, right? I want to build a brand that will last me 5 to 10 years, that will grow, nurture. I'll have a good brand presence, good brand authority. I'll, create a good service, a good customer experience. I have a good, good product. Everyone will be raving about my brand and my product and my service. Essentially, that's what you want. That's the aim of the game, right? You don't want some dead dropshipping store, where you're selling spammy products and the quality's not great and people are complaining, because that's just that's what's the word? Yeah, that's just, yeah, you're just literally on your way to disaster, right? So if I know that I want to build an e-commerce brand and established business with authority, that strives on quality and service, shouldn't I like really take my time with it? Shouldn't I really like make sure like I've tightened all the bolts, make sure that I've really laid down a foundation. I've really took my time to understand my customer, for example, understanding their problem, like really understanding, yeah, like who I'm selling to. Because I look at the last three products I'm testing, and essentially I saw products that were successful that other people were selling, and I thought, you know what, I'm gonna add my little twist to it. I'm gonna, create my own content, and it will slap. However, like it didn't slap, and it's not to say it would slap, it wouldn't slap. However, it wasn't. First of all, one, it's not. It wasn't like relieving any pain. It wasn't no real pain problem product. And two, like I didn't really do like deep analysis or like deep research on my customer. In this sense, in that product, I never had to. However, my point is, like, moving forward, and I think if you're really planning to like run your own e-commerce store, is to really start with understanding who your customer is and finding the pain point, not the product. Find a pain point that you can serve, and that's what I've been doing. And I think that's the best way to cut when it comes to building a brand, is because essentially you're building a product that's going to serve someone, right? And of course, if it's helping them with a problem, then of course it's going to be easier to sell to them, right? Because essentially, they're in need of this particular product. And of course, the bigger the problem, or should I say, the more people have this problem, the bigger the market is. So instead of like thinking of products now, I'm like, what problem is out there can I serve? Like, what's a real pain? You know what I mean? So let's just say, for example, like, I don't know, like lower back pain, right? So let's say someone's got a back pain. Like, obviously, there's loads of products out there that relieve back pain. However, it's like really understanding like what it's like having back pain, right? Like, what's it like, day to day for someone who has back pain? What's it like being at work? What's it like maybe having kids or being a family man with back pain? Like, what's the emotions or like feelings that they're going through day to day with this pain? Like what's their desires, to resolve this pain? You know what I mean? Like, what's the external problem you're trying to fix, but then what's the internal problem you're trying to fix? Like, what's that, that emotional side, like, that makes them feel, like that they need to fix this problem, right? Like, what is really like, what is it that's bothering them? To say that, like, I feel like we've got to start by really, really, yeah, understanding who your customer is, understanding exactly their emotional needs, their pains, and yeah, really diving down into that, because I feel like once we know what problem we're trying to solve, it's just about like testing products that solve those problems already with that, obviously products that have proven the concepts, like, so where other obviously brand owners or e-com stores have obviously like validated that it works, because of course we're not going to reinvent the wheel. However, instead of like just taking products kind of like blindly, it's like starting off and being like, okay, what problem do I want to solve? How big is this problem? How many people have this problem? What products are on the market solving this problem? Can I present myself with authority, with quality as well, with a service that will, push me forward in the long run because of reviews and obviously feedback? You know what I mean? Can I present an offer that's, unresistible, that, is a no-brainer to their problem? And then last of all, can I market it in a way where they can come across my brand and be like, how does this person know everything I'm feeling right now? You know what I mean? And that's back to, like I said, like really understanding our customers' pain points, to a point where we know their language, we know exactly, you know, exact scenarios they might be going through. So, for example, let's just say our avatar is Joe, a truck driver. Like, we know exactly what Joe's going through, the emotion of worrying if he's going to be able to make it through this shift. You know what I mean? Will he have to retire? Will he be able to play with his grandkids or whatever it is? You know what I mean? Like, really understanding, that emotional side of your customer. And of course, you can gather that all from like Reddit, from Amazon, and that's what I've been doing really. Like, I've just been kind of like, so obviously I've picked now a pain point that I want to solve, and I've literally like just, obviously with the help of ChatGPT, I'm just literally just doing loads of research on basically, yeah, on my avatar. So what are people saying about their pain? If it's what products have they been using, what's the advantages, what's the disadvantages, you know what I mean, like their languages, their desires, and just really like understanding, like, who they are, to a point where it's like you can, if you're so connected with them, it's like you just know, it's like almost like you're going through it, not like you're going through it, but you get it, like you're so, like, with the research, you just like really start to not get connection, but you start to really understand. And that's vital when it comes to like copy on your website. If it's like doing an advertorial, if it's, what I mean, like even when you're running content, to like speak directly to the customer. So like, yeah, my point is, I'm saying all of this to say that, like, I feel like instead of just being like, just test products, like really think about the fundamentals and just the foundation of understanding first who your customer is. Is there a market? What products are in the market? And, is your product, is it got a right market fit? Is there a gap? So for example, you may find a brand that really, or a product that, shall I say, that solves this pain so well. However, maybe the industry leader is only selling in America, for example, and you can see that people in Europe have not quite, are not quite aware of this new solution or this new product on the market, for example. You know what I mean? And obviously you can check that by like SimilarWeb, where you can kind of see where people's traffic's coming from, little things like that. Or even like on the Facebook ad library, you can use that to see where the ads are, where they're running their ads to, for example. So there's obviously loads of little ways. But however, essentially that's what I'm doing now, is just really, first of all, picking my problem, seeing what products are on the market, building a website with strong copy based on all the research of understanding who this actual customer I'm selling to is. And then essentially the plan is to test different products that solve that problem, essentially until, we've got it right. And what's good about that, at least, is, for example, if one product is not quite, we're not being able to get, if it might be the margins, it might be the offer, might be the marketing, or whatever it is, if I don't get that right to the T, we're still building up that data on the Facebook pixel with that same pain point, right? So essentially we're building a niche, like let's say it's back pain, we're building like a website that helps people relieve back pain. So now if it's, I don't know, a back brace, or it's a pillow, if it's some type of medication, whatever it is, at least like we're building data, we're building like some type of authority, data on our pixel based on this particular avatar, this particular pain point. So yeah, like, anyways, to say that, yeah, like that's been my first step. So if you want to know my update so far is I'm literally just building up all my research, all my information on my avatar. And obviously I have a pain point now that I'm focusing on. I've slowly started building the website. The next step is obviously trying to source these products from my agent. she hasn't been able to get the exact product I'm looking for. However, another step that I'm taking in the background is I'm also speaking to people in Alibaba. So of course, if you know, Alibaba is where you can buy wholesale. You can buy the products in bulk from China. And the reason why is because, again, I am now thinking long term, and I'm thinking, again, not to think like a dropshipper, to be like, okay, if I'm not able to get this product for whatever reason from my agent through the dropshipping module, or from my, let's just say through my agent, can I source these products from Alibaba, ship them from Alibaba to my agent, and then she can drop ship them to my customers? So that's one conversation we're having. Two, for example, one of the products, and this is what I was saying about the offer, sometimes the margins might just not make sense and you just have to move on. But for example, there's one product I want to sell. Obviously, USA is the biggest market. However, the margins are just not making sense. They're just too tight. So yeah, like it just, that's one little barrier. So essentially, I might be just focusing on the UK because the tariff, there is no tariffs, obviously. So like, yeah, just trying to maneuver around, yeah, essentially how I'm gonna, yeah, be able to position myself where I'm making money and I've got a desirable offer, right? So like these are like just the other things I'm dealing with. But so far, yeah, like I have a pain point that I'm trying to focus on. I'm looking into products, trying to get the right pricing first, so I know, you know what I mean? I want to make sure I get my numbers right before I think of anything else. And then yeah, like, yeah, the next step would be me ordering a sample from my agent and from Alibaba to compare the quality. And yeah, so that's the first step first. And then yeah, once I am happy with the quality of the product, then the next step would be to create some custom content that I can then start running advertisement to. And then another step I'll be doing, because this is a product that solves a big problem, and I've checked Google, so you can check Google's keywords to see, because obviously Google's advertisement is slightly different than Meta, where Google, people are actually searching for products. So it could be searching for pain point, searching for products to relieve that pain. So I've seen that the pain point and a particular product that they're searching for really got high volume on Google. So I was thinking it might be worth me, because like I said, worth me running Google ads to my product based on of the search volume. One, obviously that'll make my marketing budget a little bit smoother, because obviously with Google you only pay when they click, where with Facebook you pay for impressions, and my understanding Google takes a little bit longer as well. So maybe it just gives me a bit more time to kind of slowly test it without like spending crazy amount of money. My point is, I just want to take my time and really, like I said, like build a brand, understand what I'm doing, because I've got all these thoughts in my head. It's like, you know, if you think about it, like brand, customer experience, everything, quality, you don't want to just quickly like just drop ship products. Yeah, your customer might get it, but then if the product's bad, you're just gonna get refund. You're just gonna get chargebacks, and you know what I mean. It's just like, in the long term, it's pointless. However, if you take the time, make sure you get some samples, make sure the quality is right, slowly start running advertisements so you don't have so much orders. Find out like what your customers like, what they think. You know what I mean? Like that's a better way to do it, because, you know, do a few orders, then, you know, see, you know, if you get any customer complaints or any feedback, then you can take that on board, you know what I mean? And then instead of you selling a bad product and then have to refund everything. So I think you get what I'm saying. Like I'm trying to think more like a real brand and not just some spammy drop shipper who's just like thinking of just like running ads and just making money. You know, I'm trying to build something that I can nurture and really like build up. So that's the plan now. So yeah, like I've got the roadmap. So I'll update you lot. I'll share the little things, but I hope you've got some type of value as well, some insight of like like my thought process on everything. So yeah, like I don't want to be carelessly now just spending loads of money where I could be putting that money on like really thoughtful, strategic things. You know what I'm saying? So I hope I've kind of shared everything so far. But yeah, like that's pretty much the update. So yeah, am I still drop shipping? Like obviously, so I know you lot have been asking. Like yeah, I guess in the sense where like I'm still gonna use the drop shipping method to fulfill my customers. However, again, I'll be honest, like I've been thinking long term again. I've been thinking, is there a way where I can, fulfill it quicker? I'm already thinking about a better customer experience. Um, so yeah, like just to say that, listen, I'm still gonna use the method to prove the concept. However, I am thinking long term now about building a brand and like, yeah, of course, I need fulfillment. So the easiest way for me, and obviously if it makes sense financially as well, then like that's what I'm gonna go with. So yeah. Anyways, I'm not gonna backtrack this time and all my stuff. But anyways, you lot, that's just pretty much update. So yeah, man, I'll keep you lot in the loop. But like, I'm super actually excited about this next step now because essentially, like, yeah, this is me really like putting some super thought in it, and I'm not looking at it like dropshipping no more. Like I'm looking at it like, yo, like I'm about to build a brand that's about to, yeah, like that has there's a market, there's a need, and I'm gonna do everything I can to present myself um as that authority, right? So yeah, man. But anyways, you lot, I don't want to overdo this. It's already been like what 20 minutes. But anyways, you lot, peace and love. And yeah, man, I'll catch you lot in the next one.